Hi, my name's Lawrence Joss, and welcome to the Family Disappeared podcast. This is part two of Thanksgiving, and my friend is back. And if you're listening, it's a rooster or a chicken, and it's a stuffed animal, and it is cute. So, cock-a-doodle-doo! Cock-a-doodle-doo. Is that a chicken? A rooster? Okay, whatever. I'm not sure what that is. Anyway, today's show is going to be fantastic. We are continuing the panel with three parents that are alienated, estranged, erased, disconnected from the kids, whatever language you want to use. Again, this is a big tent. Everyone's welcome. All family members are welcome, and this really affects all families. It doesn't matter if you're on the outside of the bell curve like I am, or if you're in the center and you're living in a home where there's some tendencies going on. Like, this is good stuff for us all to talk about and learn about and grow with. Please remember to like and share and leave a review. And this is not about us doing something as a show. This is about us as a community reaching more people. So we need you to engage. Please share, like, review, and also engage in the show notes. There's a link for the podcast crew. Be part of what we're doing here. Be part of what we're talking about, who you want us to interview. And you're even going to have an opportunity to start to submit some of your own stuff so we can put that as part of the podcast too. We want to be as inclusive and diverse as possible. And right now, I don't think we're necessarily doing that great. And with that being said, let's get into the show. Probably was about 8 years, 6 years sober or something like that. And there was no PAA, there was no support group for parents and grandparents and other family members struggling. But the neat thing about all recovery communities is we kind of support each other through the holidays. And I got an opportunity to take a road trip with my three daughters, who were actually all talking to me at that time, and my best friend at that time and his two daughters. And we took a road trip up to Northern California, and we all cooked together. And they were all teenagers, and we made them cook and clean stuff. And they didn't want to. They didn't want to, and everyone was doing good on an interpersonal relationship, and they were just being teenagers. And then we all cooked together, and we all ate together, and it was really neat. Like, the sustenance came from all of us. It was a horizontal Thanksgiving versus one person cooking and doing a majority of the stuff. And it's a really fond memory, and a beautiful memory, and something that I gave my kids that they're always going to have. And so with that, we're gonna jump back into the conversation with the panel of parents. And it's really rich, and it's really moving, and it's really intense. So let's get going. I just want to take a little bit of time to kind of, like, what do you think that they're experiencing? And let's see whose voice. Let's go with you first, Anna.
Thank you, Lawrence. I just wanted to say thank you for the breathing exercise. I can feel my body starting to shut down. My shoulders are dropping, my breath is getting short. And part of this holiday experience for me is sitting with that, because it's grief related. And if I think about the holidays, sorry, I'm going off topic here, but one of the reasons I haven't wanted to sit in the grief, and it's coming up because of this conversation, it's coming to the forefront, is that I wanted to create a different scenario for my children, especially around the holidays, than the one that I had growing up. And it's really hard to say this out loud, but I feel like I failed in that respect. And recovery allows me to say that and realize it's not the full picture, and work through those feelings. But this is why I've pushed the feelings down for so long. And this is why I can feel, even though I've done a lot of work and prep for these questions, I can feel myself starting to shrink. So I just wanted to reflect that back. It's difficult to answer the question you pose, because I haven't had any substantial contact with my kids for coming up for 7 years. When I left, they were 14 and 12. Now they're all going on 21 and 19. So the changes that have gone in their life have been huge ones, and I really have no point of reference for them. And it's also really healing to say that out loud, because I don't share it very often. I don't want to touch on it. It's part of my reality, and I need to accept it, and accept that it's okay that it hurts, because I still have days where I think, I can't believe this is my life. Like, I don't, it feels like I was sharing with someone the other day, it feels like I was part of a story, and we're all characters in a story, and then my character just got dropped off, pushed off the edge of a cliff, and I'm not part of the story anymore. So it's it's really challenging, and it feels really healthy to say it out loud. And sitting with a group of people that I feel very close to doing this recording, this feels like a small scale meeting, and this is what meetings feel like to me, where I can actually talk my truth, I can say my truth, I can talk about the pain, I can try and normalize it, instead of that urge to want to push it down. And the more I'm talking, I can feel myself opening up again. So yeah, this is huge. This is so healing. I'm very, very grateful. And as I heal, I feel so spiritually connected to my kids, despite the fact I can't reflect what they might think about Christmas. Spiritually, I feel very connected, and I feel when I heal, they heal too. So this is huge.
Wow. Wow. Wow, Anna, that was so beautiful and real. And I love bringing in the part like, yeah, this is a hard conversation. Yeah, my body shuts down. And yeah, I need to do something to get back into my body. And then reflecting about recovery and actually acknowledging, like, I don't know what my kids are doing or aren't doing or what it even looks like because I don't have contact. That's the reality for a lot of us. And there's a lot of power in just saying that out loud. I don't know, and I like the part, like a story that I got written out of, falling off a cliff, like, that is poignant, powerful stuff, and I relate to that, and talking about us 4 being in a meeting together. This is what recovery does look like for me too, and it's supportive, and it's shared reality, and you can feel the recovery when people start to reflect on the reality, when people start to reflect on what's actually happening in their body, when they reflect like, yeah, I don't know what they're feeling, like I can't throw that out there. And yeah, I'm gonna just again, like, take a breath into your belly, let it out. This is deep, heavy stuff. And the 4 of us were talking before the show, and like, we haven't had these conversations before to this depth. We have not looked in these boxes. Like, I wish these boxes would have been open and someone would have been introducing me to these conversations 17 years ago. Like, this is an important conversation. So Renee, I'm gonna come with you to you with the same question. What do you think the kids' experiences might be like, might not be like, or anything you want to add to that topic?
So, because I had no support when they were younger, I definitely did some things that made the situation worse. And so, when they were small, and I know they're their father's family, we deny anything negative. We party for absolutely everything in the world. I mean, everybody gets a party for their birthday, everybody gets a huge party for Christmas. We have loads of people over. So I really doubt that anybody ever sat down with them and said, how are you feeling about not being with your mom on Christmas, right? So I feel like they were probably not directly, but indirectly encouraged to put those feelings away. Our mom was a part of this for so many years, and now all of a sudden she's not invited to the party anymore. She is not anywhere around us on the holidays. Um, and one memory that came back for me, kind of in the same vein, was when my oldest son was about 12. His new family, I'll say, his dad and his new wife and the new baby, were going on a trip. And apparently they'd had some problems with my son, who's bordering on adolescence. And they had told him, you better be back to the house from your friend's house Saturday morning at this time, or you won't be going on the trip with us. And he must have been having problems being late, and he did not make it on time. And he got home, and no one was in the home. Again, he's 12 years old. They went on a trip across the country without him. And he was told that since you couldn't be on time, you'll be spending Christmas with your mom this year. So you need to get on the phone and call your mom, and she will need to make arrangements to get you. And so for him, the punishment was spending time with me. And I can't imagine what that probably did to him back then. Um, Fast forwarding a little bit, since I do have intermittent contact with my kids, Not really so much around the holidays, but here and there, text and a couple of little things, an email here and there. I would say that all things considered, they've recovered pretty well, especially my oldest son. He has got some pretty good coping skills. However, I don't think they'll work for him forever. He's very upbeat and positive, and we pretend like everything's okay. And that may not last forever. So I guess all this to say that I feel that today they probably, in fact, I know that they've adjusted to their new normal, and it's probably been several years that they've adjusted to their new normal. They have certain regular things that they do with their dad's family every single year on Thanksgiving, on Christmas, and that's probably been good for them to have some level of consistency over the years.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that, Renee. Yeah, that's a lot of stuff and a lot of evolutions. And yes, like the kids are living their life and they have adapted, and this is their reality. And it sounds like a beautiful reality. You know what I mean? Like they get to have a good time and live their lives, and I think that's a wonderful thing to bring into the conversation. And Gio, for you, what do you think when you think about your kids and what their holidays look like and how they're doing?
So my older two children, this will be, like I said, this will be I believe the second holiday. It's been 15 months since they haven't had contact with me. And yet at the same time, all these years, the 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 contact over the holidays was always not completely stressful, but there was something there. This is very hard. It's very hard to sit here and think about. I'm glad we're doing the breath work because it's a lot of emotions, and sitting in this safe space with you beautiful people who I have a relationship with and a safety with. It is still very hard. Because as a parent and as a mama, you want to save your kids from feeling sadness and grief, and it's just a thing. So when my kids came for the holidays for the past 13 years before they kind of slipped off the radar now, I could feel their energy all of these years, and I would in fact cry at the holidays because I didn't even know what I was feeling. I had no idea what I was trying to push through with these kids, and they had no idea. They were coming to the table with, and I'm just guessing the sadness of having their family, having to deal with a Christmas here and a Christmas over here, and you have to run here and you have to run there to do these celebrations. And I'm not even sure how to answer that because I guess my children didn't really sit down and share their feelings. They've been locked up inside of them for all these years, probably as well, just trying to push through things, trying to, grow up and grow into these young adults and uh, have a relationship. And I guess I really don't know the extent or the depth of what they have been carrying through um, the holidays. So, uh, yeah, I don't even know what to say. It's hard because I get pictures of them now. I'm starting to go back into my files of the past, and I'm able to look at the holiday and the behaviors, and I see it much more clear, and I can't do anything about it. All I can do is make the changes in myself going forward and to be here for the kids if they want my help healing themselves.
Thank you for that, Gio. And I'm going to welcome everyone to just take a second here and take a breath again. Just breathing into the belly through the nose and just letting that out, letting your shoulders go and just relaxing if you're in a safe place to do that. And if you're not, when you get somewhere, take a breath. And if you're in a safe place too, you can cross your arms over your chest and touch each of your outside of your biceps with your hands. And as you're breathing into your belly, you can just like pat your arms. And this just kind of gets you again back into your body, embodies like where you are and stuff. And they're just great techniques, especially coming into the holidays, to use to kind of like regulate yourself. And I just want to share my feeling with what I think the kids are feeling and what they're going through. I think that the kids are living in their reality, which I think is really rich, and they have some family, they don't have some family around, but they're enjoying themselves to the capacity where they are. And I'm really happy that they're doing that. And I struggle, right? And like I think I came into parental alienation, estrangement, whatever, that it was an either or, like either everyone's happy or everyone's unhappy, and it's just not true. It's a both and. I can be happy and they can be sad. They can be happy and I can be sad, or we can both be happy at the same time. So I think that like black and white thinking helps perpetuate parental alienation, anxiety, different kinds of fears. But once we include like the both and, like these realities can both exist at the same time, and no one's bad or wrong. We're just both surviving. So we're going to just take a tiny second aside here, and we've been talking about recovery in the Parental Alienation Anonymous, which is pa-a.org, and there's a link in the show notes if you're interested in the meetings. And the meetings are for some people, and the meetings aren't for other people, and it's a great, wonderful program. And we also have other doors of entry into this community. Like you can build community within the community through several doors. And another door is going to be the podcast. We're all hanging out here having a chat. People are listening, sending questions, and please engage. Send us questions, ask for different guests, ask for different topics, and make sure that you're liking and subscribing and sharing the message so we can reach more parents and stuff. And then we have another door which is called the Family Hope Project. And the Family Hope Project is an art, education, and advocacy virtual gallery. And different parents submit any form of art, a painting, a dance, a song, and then they add a detail and they add a description to it. And it's a great way to join the community through a different door. Okay, ladies, let's talk about the plan. Like, do you have a plan for the holidays in recovery? Not an old plan, but what does a plan look like now as you're learning different ways to cope emotionally and spiritually? And how do you take care of yourself, prepare for the holidays, and throw in one of your favorite suggestions? And let's start with you, Renee.
Okay, well, I have to say that today there is no plan because I have really learned through recovery to live in the moment. And as the holidays approach, my husband and I might discuss, maybe this year we do this or we do that. But I would say before the last few years, our plan was, as I mentioned earlier, inviting people over to our home, and we did that several times to share Thanksgiving dinner, and especially people that have nowhere else to go. One year I had a friend that was really, really passionate about the homeless community. And we packaged up every single leftover we had into individual plates, and we put them in the car and we drove to a homeless community. And the look on those people's faces just said it all. They were not expecting Thanksgiving dinner on this holiday. They would feel lucky to have any kind of fast food or anything at all. And what a gift it was that my friend suggested that, and we actually followed through with it. So some years the plan was just, especially when it was more difficult, the plan was, you know what, I'm not going to make a decision on whether I'm going to do anything or not. When that day comes, I don't know if I'm going to call my kids or not. I don't know if I'm going to text them. I'm just going to play it by ear. One thing that I did a few years ago was I started texting everybody I could think of because I got so sick of Happy Thanksgiving on Facebook, on text messages, all this stuff. And what I decided to do was, rather than run from it, I'm going to text everybody I know and say, Happy Thanksgiving, with a little turkey or a little happy face or whatever. And it really changed the whole environment. It's like, if you can't fight them, you may as well join them.
Wow, I love that. I love the no plan notion, Renee. Like that's a testament to really to recovery and to maturity. Is like, yeah, like sometimes we try to force like a ham into like a cup and it doesn't fit in a cup. It's too big. You know what I mean? And then you get recovery, you're like, oh, the ham doesn't fit in the cup. But when you're in the middle of the trauma and the anxiety and the fear, you don't know the ham doesn't fit into the cup. And I think that's a phenomenal analogy, but it might not make any sense to anyone out there. But I loved that you brought that in, Renee, and then the service work, like being out there in the community and serving others. And yeah, and finally, I love joining the gang and just sending out turkeys and how that can change the experience of a holiday. That's actually quite funny. Let's go to you next, Gio.
The holiday, I mean, I love the holidays, but I need a plan. And I need a plan because I um I feel like there's a little bit of anxiety around the fact that, though my older two kids are not in the picture right now, I am okay. I'm in a place where I'm like, okay, they can make these decisions and this is where we're at right now. What makes it kind of tricky is I do have contact with my younger daughter who is 21, and we are close, and she comes home from college, and she uh, for me is she it's important for me that she feels included in the plans I have with my husband, her stepdad, um, because she's still in that at that age. I just don't want to say, well, I'm leaving. What are you going to do for Christmas? I need to have, I'm trying to make uh, good choices and thoughts about talking with her, like, where are you at? What's going to be comfortable for you? And we've started it already, probably a month ago. Um, because for me, I have thoughts of, maybe this year I would like to not be here at Christmas through New Year's Eve, for example. And anywhere that we go, I want to make sure she is also invited and open for that. At the same time, she's a young adult, and but I do need to, this is her this is where she lives when she's not in school, and it's her home, and I do not want to take that away from her. I love to decorate. I love to be crazy and just throw up Christmas all over the house. And I want her to have, I want to be present for that. So that's a really cool thing. So I'm not afraid about the plan as much as I used to be. I was more so afraid. But I can walk through this and I can be joyful. I will miss my other two kids like crazy. And like we brought up, in some of our discussions here today, even that energy that I'm going to carry inside of myself in the work I'm doing, and that joy card that I'm going to live that. I believe it can get out to our kids. And I think at the heart of my older two kids, even though they're not here, they know those happy, silly, joyful times. And so hopefully while they're away, they can still have that, but still enjoy their holidays too. But yeah, I do have to have a plan, and I'm okay with that.
Mm, thank you for that, Gio. And you touched on something that Anna actually touched on a little bit earlier before is when we have joy and show up for our own lives that we are energetically connecting with our kids. Like I firmly believe that I don't need to be in physical proximity with my kids to share an experience and continue to parent. And we've spoken about parenting without access here before. And I think a really important part of the holidays as we mature and the pain's not quite as raw. Sometimes when it is really raw, is that we live a full and meaningful life. And by doing that, that is kind of like the lighthouse light shining out for our kids. And I believe 1,000,000% energetically that I'm connecting with them when I'm in my body, when I'm present, when I'm enjoying myself on the holidays. So, like that whole idea of cutting off or self flagellation, or you have to have a really bad holiday to be a good parent. I think it's the opposite as I get a little bit more mature and a little bit more into recovery. Energetically, my kids can feel when I'm living my life and in my joy too. So, Anna, same question for you.
No, it's interesting because my plan in years gone by is to not have a plan at all and run around in a crazy hamster wheel and have my fingers in my ears and either work, 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 or bury myself in another family, or be on the sofa like a sad sack and just watch the clock pass another half hour, pass another half hour. And this year, you know what, thinking about my recovery journey, one of the biggest lessons I've learned is in recovery is looking after myself. And I've never looked after myself as well as I have in the last couple of years. And so the gift I want to give to myself this year is allow myself to, and it touches on what the other ladies were talking about too, give myself the space to feel whatever I need to feel. But I don't want to do that on my own. So I need to be courageous and ask a friend if I can tag along on their Christmas day. And saying that out loud is interesting to me too, because I there's part of me that still doesn't want to do it. And part of that, if I, again, saying that out loud, it's because when I say that, I have to accept the reality that I don't have my kids around me. And this is part of me undoing all that stuff so the grief can come out, because it feels like I'm admitting defeat. Uh, and so it's going to be interesting. I've been thinking about a plan before we started talking about doing this show. And I watched myself go through the process of I could do X, Y, Z and whatever. And then I got in a spin because I couldn't decide on it. And I was watching myself avoid making a plan, which is what I've done all my life. And so I stopped that and I thought, you know what? I don't want to work because it feels like avoidance. I don't necessarily want to go with a family and pretend that everything is fine, because that also feels like denial and a performance. I want to be with someone where I know, just thinking about it, one thing that I would share not to do is, because it is so painful and the pain eases over time, but certainly in the first instance, I would really recommend not isolating yourself. And by that, I mean, I know for myself, I need to line up someone that I can see during the course of whatever the holiday is. And then on the day, I can give myself the grace to decide whether or not I really need to be on my own, or whether I need to kick myself in the butt and get out. And even if just I'm spending half an hour with somebody else, it will take me out of my own head. Because if I'm feeling in a certain frame of mind, I will end up sinking even lower and lower if I'm on my own. And that's just, recovery is teaching me to be kinder to myself. So I would allow for that. And someone that you trust, so that you could say, you know what, I really do need to be on my own. I can't come and be in company. And then maybe that 10-minute conversation helps you to get through whatever it is you need to get through. But the isolating part is really not helpful. So give yourself an option, give yourself a buffer in that respect. The other thing that I'm thinking, if another suggestion is, don't force solutions for the kids. Don't force an outing with them, or force I'll meet you at the mall for a drink or whatever it is. Because I've tried to engineer scenarios where I think, okay, I'm just going to railroad through this and everything's going to be fine and I'm going to be the parent and I'm going to stand up, and it doesn't work and it's painful, and if I think about it, it puts the kids in a really awkward position. It doesn't allow for any choice, and it's thinking about it too, it's denial of the situation. So it's not, for me, it's not a healthy thing to do. So they would be my two initial thoughts around that question.
Mm, Thank you, Anna. So, resourcing yourself with someone to connect with, and really consider if you are going to meet the kids, or get to spend a little bit of time with them, is to really spend some time thinking about what that looks like, so you can consider everyone's point of view. That's what I heard you say, correct, Anna?
Yeah, that's a great summary of what I was suggesting.
Okay, fantastic. And Renee, would you have a couple things of not to do, or that might hurt to do?
So for me, it's quite a trip down memory lane to go back all those years and think about that. But I know one thing that got me through, because I didn't have PAA, I didn't even have another person that understood this. So I was literally on my own. And one of the things that got me through at that time was fake it until I make it. Like I had to figure out how to still function in the world, because if I completely imploded and couldn't go to work and couldn't, have a relationship with my husband and, all the things, pay my bills, all of that stuff. So I literally had to fake it until I made it for periods of time. But what that also meant was when I did take a deep dive emotionally, it was deep. I mean, when it did hit me, it hit me hard, and I was in bed for long periods of time. So it was a lot of that. And, all that to say, thank God that we've got the recovery that we do today. So hopefully that would not be an option today. The second thing that I was thinking about was the more that I could avoid getting into that victim mentality, allowing myself to be upset and be sad, but not living there, like doing things whether I felt like it or not. I remember a period of time where I just said, Renee, it doesn't matter if you feel like doing this or not. Get dressed, have your shower, do whatever you need to do. But I had to kind of separate myself from, I don't feel like doing this. I'm too depressed to do this. I'm too down to do this. Because if I got too far down that path, then it was very scary as to, okay, what's going to get me out of this? And so for me, I had to get out of myself, and I had to reach out to others. And again, not stopping and saying to myself, well, do I feel like doing this? At that point, I had to set those feelings aside just to be able to survive this on my own. And a little side note, I mean, even in therapy, I was so desperate. Even in therapy, I would tell them, I'm coming to you to figure out why I don't have a relationship with my kids. And they acted like I hadn't even said that. So even therapy was not a fix for this. So I truly was on my own and did what I had to do at the time to survive this.
Thank you, Renee. And then fake it till you make it sounds really silly and trite, but it's a filet mignon. It is definitely something worth cultivating at times, because that's all that we have sometimes. And Gio, is there anything that you'd like to share on one or two quick things on what maybe not to do or to do?
Yes. So one of the things, and I'll have to say with Renee's comment, I think I think we do a real disservice to our families and our kids, which I didn't realize I was doing. But throwing on, beautiful window treatments to make it look like everything's fine, everything's great, the inauthenticity. Um, the kids can feel that. They can feel that pressure. So, with walking into the holidays, I would say just don't do any high level um, acknowledgement of issues in and around the holidays. Keep your world very manageable around that time. And with that too, with concern with the kids, is don't beat yourself up trying to have with these expectations for creating this hallmark moment of a picture that you can send out on a postcard for next year's Christmas or holidays. It's a lot of pressure to put on the season. If by chance you do have, your kiddos there or just with family, um, I've had to learn to just no expectations, save yourself and keep it on an even plane so you can get through the holidays.
Mm, thank you, Gio. That's very insightful. And I'm just going to share three things that we've kind of touched on, but maybe my take's a tiny little bit different. Light and polite. Like I think Gio just touched on it. I don't need to get into any deep or meaningful questions during the holidays. I don't need to send that email, text, present that feels really emotional and this is going to change the tide of the relationship. I would say like that's probably one of the worst things that I did is I thought that I had this strategy, this idea that was going to change everything, and I decided to implement it during one of the most emotional times of the year. I would say wait until March. So, you know what? That stuff is valid and real, and write about it and talk about it with your friend and strategize. Do whatever that feels appropriate for you. And it might be good or bad, but wait until March. So that would be the number one thing that I would say. The second thing that I would say, which is on a similar vein, is if someone asks you how the kids are doing around the holidays, let's say starting a month before the holidays and then a month after the holidays are done, the answer is they're doing great. You know, I was at a meeting one time and a lady was talking about that she had 3 kids, and people kept asking her how the kids were doing. And she started telling them, and each time she had a terrible emotional hangover. And then one day she just said, my kids are doing great. And the reality is, my kids are doing great. They're having a fun time. They're doing whatever they're doing. And during the holidays, my kids are doing great. If you want to go down a bunny hole and not feel great, start sharing that part of your story. But again, for me, from doing that over and over and over again during the holidays, they're doing great. And I actually say that year round, unless it's someone I trust and know and have an intimate relationship with. And the last thing I'd say that really gives me some perspective taken is to drop the labels. And they talk about this in Al Anon all the time. The label of child, the label of parent, the label of grandparent, there's so much generational themes attached to that. There's so much energy behind it. And when I drop the label of daughter and replace it with just like another human being getting through the holidays, it shifts my perspective because I can see the humanity. I can see the struggle. I can see the joy. I can see all the dimensions of my kids that I can't see when I'm holding so tightly onto the term daughter. So that was a lot today. Let's take one last breath together. Just in through the nose, feel your belly rise, and just out through the mouth. And I want to say, ladies, you are rock stars, ninjas, and something else. And thank you so much for taking the time to come out and share with the community some of your challenges, experiences, victories, and mostly I hope everyone takes away the recovery, because when we are talking, especially when you 3 ladies are talking about your experience, you can hear the shift from this to that. You can see the colored gradation change from dark to lighter. Not quite light in some sense, but that's what recovery gives. It gives us just a little bit of space, just a little, and that little bit of space, that eighth of an inch, makes everything a little bit different. So, thank you, thank you, thank you. Holy mackerel. Man, I think I need a nap. That was a lot. It was beautiful, and some of the nuances that the ladies shared is just so cool. And if you're new to recovery, like, you might want to listen again. For me, when I first got here, like, I was scared and stressed out and lashing out and trying to use strategies and control stuff and causing myself so much pain, and other people around me pain. And as I started to grow community, as I started to grow some resources and resiliency, I didn't have to lash out as much anymore. And my holidays are considerably different. I enjoy myself for the most part. My kids do not take up a huge amount of space, and I miss them and I love them, and I wish we could be participating. With that being said, remember, we're here, and there's many, many, many doors. 12-step programs and 12-step recovery might not work for you, and there's some other great supports out there, and there's professionals out there that are doing wonderful work. And we have the door of the Family Hope Project, where you can really get involved. You can volunteer, you can be part of the creative process of it, and you don't have to talk about recovery in the way that we're talking about it from a 12-step perspective, but you'll make friends with shared realities. That's a great opportunity. We have the foundational trainings coming up. We're looking for volunteers, people to help out. There's the podcast crew if you want to have some kind of input in what we're doing here, be part of some skits and some fun stuff we're going to be rolling out in season 2. And so many ways to get involved. You do not have to be isolated and alone during the holidays. So happy Turkey Day, happy post Turkey Day. I think this was probably air right after Thanksgiving, in the first episode right before Thanksgiving. So thank you for coming along for the ride. We appreciate you. we as a community are growing, and we're growing in recovery and love and acceptance and abundance. Like there's a lot of abundance in life, even though we are struggling and we miss our children. There's still a lot of abundance and a lot of things to be grateful for. So from me to you, I love you. I love you. It's another beautiful thing about 12-step program is you learn to say I love you to a lot of different people and really mean it. Have a beautiful holiday and a rest of the holiday season, and we will see you next week.